Hello, welcome back to How About That Crypto. You are watching daily crypto news and updates with your host, Bitcoin Stylist on Twitter and Bitcoin Hairstylist on Instagram. I'm here Monday through Friday, and I explain crypto and Web3 while keeping you up to date on all the latest. Today's news stories are all about NFTs. Is the market dying, or is it just maturing? NFT owners are figuring out ways to use them, and we discuss a vision of the future. NFTs could change the world, or could they? What does all this mean? Let's find out. This is something that you don't want to miss. This is a big episode today. I dive really deep into NFTs, so I'll explain it all. But first, if you like the content, you don't like the content, please let me know by leaving a comment below. If you're listening on podcast, please give me a rating. 5 stars is obviously preferable. If you're watching on YouTube, please smash the subscribe button, ring the bell, help support the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. Just to be clear and litigious, this is not financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. You can use the links below to do your own research. I'm still praying for the Ukrainian people and all those affected by this war. Hopefully this is over sooner than later. As a matter of fact, the NFT stuff has something to do with Ukraine. There's been a lot of money. Millions of dollars have made it to Ukrainian people through NFT sales. I think that's pretty cool. I'll touch on that in a little bit. Also, if you find yourself listening and you feel like you're getting a little lost, please leave a comment below. Let me know. I'd like to hear from you. Also, I also recommend that this information is meant to layer on top of itself. So if you just keep listening, after a while, you will start to hear things repeated. I will explain things in context, and you should start to pick them up. Let me know if you do not. I want to hear from you. My link for my Twitter is in the link in the description below, so you can send me a message if you don't want to leave an NFT. So, sorry, if you don't want to leave a comment. So I've reported on NFTs a few times. Real quick, what is an NFT? NFT stands for non-fungible token. Non-fungible means not the same. I use this example all the time. You go into McDonald's, you order fries from the dollar menu. How long do you think the dollar menu is going to be around? Anyways, you order fries from the dollar menu. Your tab is $1 and change for tax. Do not ever forget about Uncle Sam and the tax. Of course, not financial or tax advice. So your tab is $1 and some change. You need $2. $2 bills because you don't have any change. You open your wallet and there are 4 $1 bills. It does not matter which 2 you grab. Each one is the same in terms of value. However, if you reach in your backpack and pulled out a Monet or a Picasso, and you wanted to use those to pay for something, then the questions are, which painting do you have? Is it authentic? Did you steal it? Can you prove you didn't steal it? These items are non-fungible, as in they are not the same. So an NFT is a certificate of authenticity and proof of ownership of a digital asset. These assets can be PDFs of scanned titles or deeds, data for use in supply chain management, data for use by scientific and regulatory agencies. Most commonly, you probably know of JPEGs, video files, audio files, like Bored Apes or musicians dropping singles or albums as NFTs. Well, I reported last week that some JPEGs are being casted in a film. Coinbase is offering $10,000 for rights to animate the JPEGs and use in advertising campaigns and a movie. Also, someone is leveraging the community and hype around the Bored Ape Yacht Club and opened up a burger joint. You could check out those stories from last week. After reporting these last 2 pieces last week, I was totally getting NFTs. Then I saw this article and many more after it that say that the NFT marketplace is slowing down. What does slowing down mean? What is causing this? Well, let's take a look. I'm going to share my screen. If you're listening on podcast, you can click on the first link. Author Jacqueline Melinek reports for TechCrunch. Blue chip NFT owners explore alternative uses as sales decline. I'm just going to read something here. NFT global sales volume hit 4.6 billion in January, but decline almost 50% to 2.4 billion by the end of March, according to data from NFT aggregator CryptoSlam. Weak projects with loosely tied communities can be partly to blame for the decline in overall NFT sales, according to the founder of Burnt Finance, who goes by the alias Burnt Banksy. So while total NFT sales are down, blue chips, their quote unquote blue chips, are up. These include Bored Ape Yacht Club, Mutant Ape Yacht Club, and Azuki. Basically, this sounds to me like NFT craze has faded out a little bit. and at least as it pertains to the digital art craze. This excludes those with a community behind them. This means there are a bunch of fans that believe in the project and there's a recognizable brand. These projects might have a roadmap for utility or development. Now, if you have the NFT to prove you own one of these pieces of artwork, because remember, NFTs are a receipt, proof of authenticity and ownership. They are not the actual picture. If you have an NFT to prove you own one of these pieces of artwork within one of these collections, what are you supposed to do with it? Well, it seems that people are renting them out. This sounds similar to the Coinbase move that is casting characters for a movie from the Bored Ape Yacht Club, like I talked about last week. People can rent out a piece of artwork to sell products like the burger joint, but that guy owned his NFTs. So if you wanted to I don't know, do like a product launch and you wanted to leverage the brand recognition of something, you could license out or rent out someone's NFT artwork, and people be like, oh, what's this? This is like part of the Bored Ape Yacht Club. This is cool. They can use it for branding for an event. According to this article, people can use their NFTs to collateralize a loan. And I guess it sounds kind of like a pawn shop to me. I don't know. Lending on NFTs on the platform Arcade is at $17 million with $25 million worth of blue chip NFTs locked in escrow. So a lot of people are using their NFTs to borrow against. It's kind of like having your house and saying, well, I have some equity in my house. I'd like to take a home equity line of credit. So the home is the underlying asset that secures that loan. Let's keep moving forward on this topic of what to do with your NFTs. All right. Okay, so author Casey Ifeanyi reports for Fast Company. People are excited about NFTs, but still don't know what to do with them. UTA survey finds. A new survey finds the future of NFTs to be more inclusive among owners as it expands into new categories, but the education gap is still very real. So this article talks about some data. I love data. The data has to do with understanding the direction of this market. So let's take a look. 1,500 people surveyed, ages 16 through 54. 6% of those people owned NFTs. This is very tiny. 38% said they wanted to own an NFT in the future. This is a 65 million person potential audience growth for this market. The 6% that owns NFTs is 59% male, 62% millennial, and 66% white. An average income of $92,000. Out of the 38% of people who want to own NFTs, more than 10% more females. So you have like an increase of more than 10%. And Gen Z and Gen X will take 16 and 33% respectively, which is kind of interesting. This means that the youngins aren't as into it, which I think is super interesting. The racial breakdown of these aspiring NFT owners is 10% Black, 12% Asian, 15% Hispanic. I do not think this breakdown lives up to the inclusive claim in the subtitle personally. This represents only a 5% increase in non-white owners. Median income expected to drop 81,000 to 81,000. Definitely trending, but more diverse, but I would say not really. Check this out, this excerpt from this thing. The most desired types of NFTs, example, digital art, trading cards, collectibles, will remain steady with music and video games tied for number one. But future NFT owners, remember, this is like a 5x increase of people. Future NFT owners are far more interested in redeemable physical goods and TV show film assets than owning memes or brand-related moments. UTA's survey also looked into the key market driver for NFTs and found profit and pride tied at 63%, followed by owning product, 50%, fandom, 48%, and access, 37%. This is all good, but 69% of respondents do not know how to purchase NFTs or what to do once they own one. So a lot of people want to get into this space. They just don't get it, and they don't know how to get into it. In addition to this, the biggest concerns among current and future NFT owners is scams and theft, market fluctuations, and the environmental impact. Okay, I think that's a lot of information. I believe all of this information combined says to me, my like grand summary is the NFT market is maturing, not collapsing. I've heard many people say it's all going to collapse like the tulip craze. Well, only time will tell, but the proof is in the pudding, so to speak. There's a massive interest in this space. The demand in people, not necessarily dollars, is expected to 5x. Not all of these people have the money to buy a 6-figure or 7-figure Bored Ape, and the collectible of Jack Dorsey's first tweet went from $2.9 million, and the best offer that was made when it went up for resale was only $18,000. So I don't think that's super high. I think that liquidity for expensive NFTs might not increase. However, the interest in NFTs is increasing, and once we can get over the educational hurdle. TV shows and movie assets, like think casting your character in a movie, these things seem like they will be worth something. These have the highest interest from the aspiring NFT owners. All in all, my prediction is that this market may have seen its initial craze already. There is not much more hype coming into this space. The only NFTs artwork worth anything will be those that are in characters in movies, TV shows, and games. Some collectibles will have retain an increase in value, like specific artists and or collections. We might already see them there. That doesn't mean that there could be new ones. I do believe that future generations will appreciate digital artwork more so than people of today as a whole. Trading cards make sense, but more so if you can plug them into a game or a fantasy sports team. To me, utility makes sense. Collectibles never made a whole lot of sense to me, except exceptions apply, of course. But this goes back to specific artists and collections. Picking the right one now is going to be as challenging as picking an artist or of traditional art that will become famous and retain its value in the future. But an artist appreciated by history is making an impact on a moment. That sounds like art to invest in. Otherwise, the value is in your eyes alone. What are your thoughts on this? Please leave a comment below. I'm very curious to hear from you. But let's move on to our wrap-up story. This news piece explains more ways the NFTs can and in words of the interviewed will be used. Author, and let me switch over here. All right. Author Ian Dean reports for Creative Block, NFT art, how the future of NFTs will empower artists. NFT artists are finding NFT art has the power to change the world. This article starts by saying the NFT bubble must burst. Then the technology can succeed. Maybe, as I mentioned above, the large incoming group of people will not be able to participate in the NFT economy as it is today. This bubble bursting will enable NFTs to be a force for change. Think of like the dot-com bubble. The dot-com bubble burst, and out of it came Google, Facebook, Amazon. So I don't know. It's just something to think about. This author talks with Bilali Mack of VFX, which is virtual effects. Let's just double check. Visual effects artist, supervisor with a long history in this space. So let's take a look at how NFTs can be a force for change. All right, so we go number 1. NFT art can level the playing field. According to the story, making NFTs can be done on a smartphone. Anyone can tell a story through art, film, or video games. Anybody of any race, creed, gender, whatever. Anybody can tell their story, and they can create in this space. There might be some education, but there's lots of information out there. All right, number 2. NFT art will power a diverse metaverse. Basically, the people in art will not conform to one cultural group of people. However, there are more of one or two groups involved in metaverse than any other groups right now. So education is key to make this actually reality, because right now the NFT space and the crypto space is full of one or two groups of people. However, that is changing. I think I reported that that minorities in crypto purchases were up 25% from only in August last year. So things are changing, but really education is a key to making this a diverse space in true reality. Number 3, visual effects artists are needed for the metaverse. Artists who know or learn 3D modeling, simulations, AI, and other skills, they will experience a massive growth of importance and income they have never seen before. Number 4, NFT art will revolutionize the visual effects industry. Basically, the artists will have more power and say that more than ever. No artist will have to serve the master of employer. They can be their own businesses. They can create an association to assist other artists, entrepreneurs, and things like Marvel films will have a run for the money. The best artists will either be crazy expensive or be their own company and probably be crazy expensive. They can make their own films, though. So there's going to be a lot of competition. That's very interesting. This is an interesting thought that he makes, because while the early days will benefit artists in a big way, eventually the talent pool will balance out. And then what? Big companies will scramble in the early days, but will they scramble beyond that? I don't know. What are your thoughts? Comment below. Okay, number 5. NFT art puts artists in control. So I'm going to read these first two paragraphs. We're now in a place where artists are being empowered to use the digital art to create art and find audience through the internet without having to go through a studio or without having to go to art galleries. It's basically decentralizing the way we as artists, as visual effects artists or digital artists, are able to monetize our art, and it's very liberating. NFT art can power this important shift in the visual effects industry and the art industry as a whole. As outlined by Mac, artists embracing NFTs can find new audiences and markets without the needs to go to traditional studios or companies for commissions or short-term or freelance contracts. Creating NFT art and using NFT drops, artists can take control of their work and help create new revenue streams. Very interesting. Number 6, NFT art can foster communities. I want to read this whole thing because I think this is really interesting. Outside of creating art for artists' sake, Mac sees NFT art as a way to create communities, especially people that are creating NFTs that have some sort of utility outside of just aesthetically being a piece of art, says Mac. It can help if you know who is buying NFTs too. This way you can target your projects. He already has a project in mind to use an NFT to set up an educational platform to teach people visual effects skills and connect VFX supervisors with disadvantaged people who may never think they could work in the film and VFX industries. There you go with the education stuff. The ability to build utility in an NFT, I think, is very important to remember, and it's something that I hope a lot of visual effects artists and digital creators try to fold into as they're creating more and more NFTs. Goes back to my point about utility. If something has utilities, it makes a lot of sense what there would be value in it. Okay, besides just like something that is pretty. I mean, because things that are pretty, they don't stay pretty, like unless they tell a story. Anyway, there are already NFTs with utility making headlines, such as Shark Ghetto Hood pick above. Despite looking like a watery Bored Ape Yacht Club spinoff, this NFT is designed to create a community that will raise money for social environmental projects. It aims to also support sustainable farming projects, particularly in rural communities. Money raised in its Ghetto Sharkade games goes into funding pot. That's funny, funding pot. But I'm sure they meant it's a pot of money that is being filled by the games. Anyway, so this is really interesting. I thought I read all this because this makes a lot of sense. You can build a community that has a purpose, and all the sales and the games all, you can create games with these NFTs. These NFTs can be characters in games, and then every time there's a transaction involved, then money can go into a treasury, and the treasury can be used for a purpose. Those purposes could even be voted on by NFT holders. All right, moving on. Let me just make sure. Okay, cool. Moving on. NFT artists can create a new kind of internet. And this is basically saying that this Mac guy, he doesn't want the metaverse to be like today's social media. I agree, but what does that look like? I don't know. What do you think it looks like? Check this out. I want to read this last paragraph. Interesting utility projects for education or ways of creating communities around housing, around government governance, or grassroots projects. NFTs are such a great tool that you could use to help try to create communities that can help teach or learn or be creative in so many other ways. So everybody shouldn't be using it to make profile pictures. Goes back to my point about just because it's pretty doesn't mean it's going to last a long time. But like if it has that's like a profile picture. Everyone's making their NFTs a profile picture on Twitter. How long do you think that's going to be cool? So, but if these things have utility and they are being used for education, for entertainment, Uh, I think that makes a lot of sense to me. What do you think? Do you think that I'm tripping and I don't understand art? Please leave a comment below. Moving on. NFT artists can take ownership of their work. And I think this is pretty straightforward. I think of musicians. They can own their work and only grant certain rights to record labels for promoting them. Number 9, NFT art has the power to disrupt. NFT collections have already been commissioned to create films. I personally do not watch much animation, but there's a lot of people who do. Maybe if I owned an NFT that was in a film, or the film Coinbase is doing, Bored Ape Yacht Club, I'd watch that. But that's only because it's related to the industry. Check this out. All right. I could see a world where there are NFT distribution platforms that allow people to contribute to the film. They get certain rights, they get certain credits, and they also get certain royalties. Again, we can see the first steps of this happening now as Kevin Smith reveals an NFT film project, a horror anthology called Kilroy Was Here. The film's 5,555 NFTs will be released on Secret Network NFT Marketplace this summer. Owners of the Kilroy Was Here NFT will be able to create their own content using characters from the film, and these stories will appear in the sequel. That's super interesting. Community created content. So all of a sudden you like your favorite show and you're like, oh, I want to tell a story. You can buy up some of these NFTs, which will be characters that'll be plugged in. You can create your own storyline and get it into a sequel. Last and finally, the NFT art bubble has to burst. As I mentioned before, the NFT market has been declining in overall sales. Please check this out right here. This guy's saying this is a good thing, who tells us NFTs are at such an early stage, and I think that a lot of it is not going to be great. And once things die down, then we'll probably hopefully have an opportunity to start creating some more interesting, more meaningful art, and also some things that actually matter. This is already happening. As we've mentioned, NFT art that has utility and strong communities are more valued. But now that utility is being directed at good causes and developing new artists, such as money raised by the Ukraine conflict NFT art, which I mentioned before. So basically, NFTs are being used are being used for good. NFTs can be used for good, I should say, and they have been being used for good. And they are being used to educate and to raise money for different charities. So those that have utility, you know, it's a piece of artwork that you hold and you can say, hey, look, I invested in Ukrainian conflict. It had utility. I bought it to send money. And now I have this piece of art that was part of this event. And now you can also make these pieces of art characters in a story or characters in a game, and you could make them characters in an animated online learning platform. I think all this stuff sounds super cool. What do you all think about this? And maybe you have a different opinion about NFTs. Maybe you still feel like $1 million picture of an ape isn't worth it, but it also has a community behind it. They are being casted in films. There's utility there. So there's some branding plays with that stuff. So how do you pick a winning NFT collection? I don't know, but if it has utility and you like the use case scenario behind it, then I think that that's probably a good way. What are your thoughts? Please leave a comment below. Sorry I ran over. I hope you all had a good weekend, and I hope you have a good week. Have a good one. Hodl on.